Hi, this is Courtney Cheatham and Dustin Freenan, live from Southern New Hampshire University with Castle Hill Media for our Girls Division I final game featuring the number 9 seed Winnacunnet Warriors versus the number 1 seed Londonderry Lancers. Dustin, if you're going to give me a preview for this game here, what are the key features you think for each side to lead them to victory?
Well, I think this game's going to be a total coin flip, to be honest with you. I think it's going to come down to 3 main factors, just as most games do. I really think turnovers are going to be a huge factor for both sides. I think the rebounding edge is going to lead to a lot of easy baskets for somebody. And then just making shots. I mean, I think that's a very underrated part of the game, and I think, you know, if Kelsey Coffey or the Britton girls can get making shots, then it's going to open things up considerably for each side.
Give us a player to watch on each side here.
I think that Kaya Cadigan for Winnacunnet is going to be the player to watch because as she's really stepped it up over the last 3 weeks, Winnacunnet's games, you know, gone from that 9 seed to an upset specialist. And when she brings energy and she provides a second scoring option to Meg Nollmeyer and she hits the boards hard, then Winnacunnet's tough to beat. For the Londonderry side, I think that Jackie Luckhart's going to be a huge factor just from the standpoint of applying ball pressure and really trying to force the Winnacunnet guards into mistakes.
Both these teams very familiar with getting to the final. Winnacunnet going on that, what was it, a 5-year-in-a-row win streak? What was it, in the late 2000s?
Yep, I believe it was 2000 to 2011. They won 5 straight. And that's another storyline in this game. You got 2 coaches that are replacing quote-unquote coaching legends, and they're each looking for their first title since taking over the program.
And I think experience on both sides is a key factor, as Londonderry made it to the finals and won it all last year. Year before, they were also in the finals. So these seniors and some of these juniors playing as freshmen and sophomores in those games, I think are, you know, know the atmosphere, have the knowledge of that. So I think that, you know, plays a little bit into Londonderry's favor. But Winnacunnet also having the history in their school of getting to those finals.
Yeah, no doubt. I think with Winnacunnet, I almost think their lack of experience has been a good thing so far through the playoffs. They kind of got a fresh start. Yes, some of these players were on the roster when they were winning the state titles, but at the same time, they're also playing very loose and free with nothing to lose.
Well, great. Well, tell us a little bit about yourself. So this is one of your first times doing a broadcast. Tell us a little bit about your basketball history and some of these players that you know and you've coached in your AAU time.
Well, it is going to be a tough night for me in some regards because we do have 8 players in the game that play AAU for us. I am the director and head coach at New Hampshire Elite. We have 4 players from Winnacunnet and 4 from Londonderry. All of them are pretty much my little sisters, but I'm going to be as unbiased as possible out here. With all of them, I'm just looking for their attitudes to be at a high level, their energy to be at a high level, and just their effort. And I think that all the kids that play for us are going to have a huge impact in this game, and it's going to be a great night.
All right, well, let's do our halftime prediction just to see, you know, who has the better futuristic thoughts. I'm thinking we're going to go into halftime. I'm anticipating that Londonderry's going to be up 6 at half.
I think you might be right on that. Winnacunnet has been a second-half team this whole playoff. They've been down 10 points to Pinkerton at the half, and I think they might be the more nervous team just because of that experience factor that you mentioned earlier. I think Londonderry will probably be up 4 to 6 at half as well.
Well, excellent. Well, I'm excited for a good one. We're going to start in just a few minutes here.
Good fit.
And the second senior Lancers of Londonderry High School. a 6-foot senior, number 31, Brittany Walsh. Starting at guard for Winnacunnet, a 5'4" sophomore, number 3, Kelly Arsenal. And guard for Londonderry, a 5'8" sophomore, number 21, Kelsey Clyde. And guard for Winnacunnet, a 5'7" junior, number 15, Katie Arsenal. And guard for Londonderry, a 5'7" junior, number 14, Jacqueline Lockhart. For Winnacunnet guard, a 5'5" senior, number 24, Molly Whitney. And for Londonderry guard, a 5'8" senior, introducing the head coaches for Winnacunnet passing to for Londonderry, Nick Fields. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we ask that you please rise as we honor America and those men and women in our armed forces serving around the world, protecting our freedoms with the playing of our national anthem.
All right, let's get ready for what no doubt is going to be one fantastic basketball game. If you notice, we have a packed gymnasium filled with a great student section for both the Lancers and the Warriors, who I'm sure will be going back and forth in their chants. Coaching for the Winnacunnet side, in her third year as the Winnacunnet coach, in her first time in the final, is Cassie Turcotte. For Londonderry, also a relatively new coach in his first year as the head coach for Londonderry, taking over for longtime head coach John Fagula, is Nick Theos. We have Roach and Nolmeyer for the tip-off, and Nolmeyer tips to Valchich, who hesitates and dribbles, and that's an offensive foul taken by Tara Burke on Valchich. That's a tough way to start the game for both players, actually. It's going to be Londonderry basketball.
I thought Valicic was going to go to the Euro step there. She stuck with just going hard, and nice play by Burke.
Winnacunnet starting out in their full court pressure. Luckert passing to Roach for the side. She starts out with a miss. Burke on the rebound, and she finishes. First bucket goes to Londonderry.
It's that rebounding edge that we kind of talked about in the pregame. If teams can get easy baskets off of offensive rebounds, it can go either way real fast.
Valchich bringing the ball up the floor. Looks like Londonderry playing man-to-man. I rarely see them in this defense. I typically see them in a 2-3-3-2 zone defense, but perhaps trying to mix it up a little bit to throw Winnacunnet off.
Winnacunnet running the flex.
We're going to get a 5-second call here against Winnacunnet. That has been a slight problem for them as they're running this flex offense, although it's patient. Sometimes with the 3 referees, they're really on them early with the 5-second calls. This is Jacqueline Luckert bringing the ball up the floor for Londonderry, guarded by Kelly Arsenal. Winnacunnet playing its traditional 1-3-1. I love everybody getting on the floor nice and early in this game. We got a pass fake by Noelle Lambert, drives to the rim. That's a rebound for Nolmeyer, and then we're going to have a foul on the rebound. I think that's going to be against Brittany Roach.
Interior fouls are going to be huge too. There's not as much depth with each of these teams, especially with Berube being out for Londonderry.
That's going to be a foul against number 20, Londonderry's Noelle Lambert. Londonderry in a full court man-to-man defense. That's going to be a tight call over there on the side. That's going to be a hold against number 31, Brittany Roach. Winnacunnet running a 4 across press break. they typically inbound the ball to one of their forwards, and then they feed it back to the point guard, or the girl taking the ball out. We got Britton bring the ball up the floor, throws a long pass. Luckert traditionally picks that pass off. She's such an athletic player, sees the ball lanes well. That's Noelle Lambert on the drive, but we're going to get Valcic on a reach. That's going to be Valcic's second foul with only a minute and 17 into this ball game.
Lockhart is incredible on the cross-court passes on the defensive side. She is a goalie in soccer, and she plays basketball just the same way. Great read and huge foul, like you said, on Katie Valcic. Her second foul is going to be huge problems for Winnacunnet. Looks like Turcotte's going to pull her out as well.
Noelle Lambert misses the first. We're going to have a substitution. This is going to be Molly Britton's younger sister, Emily, coming in for Valcic. It's always tough in a championship game to get those early fouls. It just kind of throws your headspace off. Noelle Lambert making the second. That's going to give Londonderry an early 3-0 lead. Inbounding the ball to Nollmeyer, who gives it to Britton, who's going to bring the ball up the floor. Finds her younger sister. And they're going to pull it out. It's good to get the ball back in the hands of Kelly Arsenault, their true point guard. But again, just a sophomore. This is Nollmeyer on the wing, driving, and that's going to be a travel call on the jump stop. Remember, there's a 3-man refereeing crew in this final game, which does affect some of the calls that you don't see as much in the quarterfinals or even in the regular season. Londonderry seems to be picking apart this press relatively well. Noelle Lambert's going to bring it back out. Jacqueline Luckert on the side finds Roach, who's going to shoot a deep three and make it. She loves this gymnasium. She hit the game-winning 3 in the finals last year. She had some 3s in the semifinal game, and she starts off this game with another 3. That's going to be a foul on Londonderry as Kelly Arsenault wiggles her way through the double team.
I think important factor right now is that Winnacunnet's got to pass through this pressure. They're not going to be able to dribble through the zone.
I agree. The problem is when they go to throw those long passes, Luckert is just tough to get by.
Right.
I mean, even if you think a passing lane's open, she seems to find her way in there. I can't imagine what she's like in the goal.
A lot of short, quicker passes will definitely break it, but if they do go to the cross court, they're going to be in big trouble.
Londonderry initially got the steal, but Kaya Cadigan tipping it back. That's the athleticism there. We got Nollmeyer on the block. She misses the layup, but Cadigan gets her hands on it, who finds Britton. And then Arsenault being a good point guard by slowing them down and trying to see if they can get in some sort of rhythm. This Londonderry defense, though, has been astounding. That's the first shot that Winnacunnet even got off in this whole basketball game. That pass is not going to work. Luckert's going to go to the basket. Arsenault defending her well, but she's going to get a block called against her.
This transition to man-to-man for Londonderry has been great so far. Winnacunnet's really struggling to even get into any kind of offense early.
I think when a team can feed off of its defense like Londonderry does, Londonderry is a traditional run-and-gun team. We have a timeout called from Winnacunnet. They love to score in transition, so if they can get some offense off their defense, I think that's what they'll be excited about.
I think both teams rely on that heavily. I mean, Winnacunnet beating beating Pinkerton in the semifinal is very much the same kind of situation where, you know, their defense was their offense.
Winnacunnet's half-court 1-3-1 is a pretty great defense, but they haven't had a chance to do much in it as Londonderry really pushing the ball up and getting Winnacunnet into some early foul trouble. So out of the timeout, I'm sure Coach Turcotte just trying to calm her team down a little bit, hopefully help them find some holes in this half-court offense. Winnacunnet, a very capable offensive team. As we mentioned before, 2 true point guards, a couple of good outside shooters, and a great post-interior play. Luckert makes the first one. Both Londonderry and Winnacunnet relatively strong free throw shooting, which is probably part of the reason why they're in this ball game. Luckert makes that. It's 8-0 so far for Londonderry. Londonderry switching to a 1-2-1-1 full court press. I like that call by Coach Theos. Out of the timeout, they've been showing full court man. Let's switch it up.
Lockhart just reading all these lobs. If they keep throwing lobs, Lockhart's going to have a field day.
Looks like Coach Theos disagreed with that call, but I think with the 6 eyes on the court and the reffing crew, they tend to get most of these calls right. Arsenault finding Britton, who finds Cadigan rolling to the rim. Cadigan getting about triple teamed there. Nollmeyer from the free throw line. That's no good. Rebound Nollmeyer. She's good when she gets those offensive rebounds, and she's able to score.
It looks like Londonderry is just daring the Winnacunnet guards to make shots.
Nice pass by Coffey up to Lambert. Roach. Now the momentum shifting a little bit to the Winnacunnet side.
Malcolm.
We have sophomore number 15, Balcom, checking in for Noelle Lambert. Balcom, a traditional starter on this Londonderry team, but Lambert, coming off of a hot semifinal game, makes her way into the starting lineup. Arsenault bringing the ball up. Londonderry staying in its man-to-man. Balcom doing a good job pressuring the point guard, causing a turnover. So right into the game, putting on some defensive pressure, leading to a Winnacunnet turnover. Coach has to be excited about that substitution. Kelsey Coffey giving it to Jacqueline Luckert. Londonderry kind of throwing the ball all over the court in this transition right now. Potentially the vision might be impaired a bit by the fan section as you're coming up the court. Lots of bodies, lots of heads that you're seeing. Winnacunnet doing a better job against this press, but Londonderry just seems like they have about 8 players on the defensive end. Britton finding Cadigan. She can hit that shot, and she does.
Cadigan is incredibly solid on the inside-out game. They got the deep ball, got it.
Luckily, the pass was a bit short, probably because this is a college-sized court, and that's transitioning into a Winnacunnet turnover. So despite not getting a ton of turnovers off their pressure, which Winnacunnet traditionally does, they are creating some half-court turnovers out of this transition from full court to half court. Kaya Cadigan is going to go to the line for 2.
It's going to be a second on Roach.
I'm sorry, that's going to be on the floor. Yes, that's Brittany Roach's second foul. We've got Valcic coming back in the game for Arsenault. Arsenault is a firecracker, but a bit undersized so far and has a little less experience than Valcic, but she'll come in, she'll get calm, she'll be good to go. Kaya Cadigan on the drive. That's going to be a travel call. Not sure I agree with that one. Looks like she put the ball on the floor and just did a nice spin move, but sometimes the benefit of the doubt does not go to the more athletic players as the refereeing crew anticipates travel that's not there. Luckert passing the ball up. Londonderry breaking through this pressure easily, as we said, but this time slowing it down. Let's see how Winnacunnet is in the half-court 1-3-1. Valcic extending out. Kelsey Coffey finds Lambert for the shot. That's going to be long, but a rebound by Balcom. It's going to go out of bounds.
Valcic staying out of foul trouble is going to be huge this half. I mean, she's in with 2 fouls and being asked to run the baseline on the 1-3-1.
That's going to be out of bounds. Luckert, only 5'7", but she can jump. She gets in the passing lane. She makes these passes very hard for Winnacunnet. Valcic bringing the ball up the floor. Dribbling, throws a long pass to Britton. She's also a shooter. The Britton sisters combined for a lot of outside shooting on the Winnacunnet end. Coffey also able to bring the ball up the floor, but they try to put the ball in the hands of Luckert. Coffey more of a shooter.
Emily Britton's the sophomore who made that huge shot against Pinkerton. Very capable shooter from outside for Winnacunnet.
Every Londonderry player touching the ball in that possession, but unable to put the ball in the rim. We got Valcic. Lambert forcing Valcic's left. Ball bouncing on the sideline. That was a good skip in the passing lane by Coffey, unable to grab the basketball. In the game for Londonderry, sophomore Jenna Conroy. Cadigan on the drive. It's going to be an offensive foul. That's the second offensive foul in just the first quarter of this basketball game. All coaches appreciate the defensive effort by any player who's willing to step in the passing lane and take that charge. We've got Kaya Cadigan coming out of the game for Winnacunnet, replaced by number 33, Sarah Dyer. Coffee going to bring the ball up the floor, pushing the ball up nice and hard. She's going to make a nice bounce pass across to Balcom, who completes the layup. That was a good no-look pass by Coffee.
Coffee does a lot of the little things like that very well. She never really telegraphs her passes. She sees the floor well as a guard.
I think a lot of that might have come from her playing last year with Eliza Simpson and just really increasing her confidence. Remember, Eliza Simpson, Londonderry graduate last year, point guard player of the year, now on the UNH squad. Coffee had the pleasure of defending her every day in practice, and the job of defending her in practice, and then also getting to play with her on the court.
Looks like Londonderry's gone zone.
They have. Winnacunnet switching to a 4-out, 1-in looking offense. Trying to get Nomeyer on the low post. Now we're kind of overloading. That's a miss by Dyer. Luckert swinging the ball to the weak side to Coffee. She's long on her shot.
Good rebound there by Britton.
Britton, great rebound. And back in the Winnacunnet side. So Winnacunnet getting some looks here in the half-court offense now, but just unable to convert. Again, they have two of their regular starters on the bench in Cadigan and Arsenal. There's Meg Nomeyer. They want to keep feeding her. That's a rebound by Britton.
Nice cut.
Who passes to Valcic. That's good team
Very good
play
pass.
by Winnacunnet.
Nice cut by Valcic from the weak side against the zone.
Just a 4-point basketball game with 1 minute to go in the first quarter. Coffee to Lambert, who finds Luckert, who shoots a three. Don't see her shoot a ton of threes. And that's a rebound by Nomeyer. Winnacunnet can slow it down here and try to get one shot, potentially a good one, only go down 2 going into the second quarter. That would be a victory for them. Nomeyer on the top, keeping the ball high. Londonderry, again, like you mentioned, switching to a 2-3 zone. There's Ayers on the drive. Nomeyer, another offensive board, and that makes it a 2-point ball game. That's a steal by Valcic and a double dribble. Unfortunately, when she was going to gather the basketball, she did dribble it a couple of times. That's the first time we've really seen them get anything in their full court pressure. 17 seconds left on the clock, Londonderry up by 2. Look for them to get one shot. Luckert, the experienced junior point guard, she will slow them down here. Coffee has the ball. You don't really want to leave her. Thought she might launch that. Luckert drives. Meg Nomeyer dropping nicely on the weak side. Everybody all over the floor. That's a good job by Winnacunnet, not allowing any shot in that last.
I think that's a huge win for Winnacunnet to get out of there down 2. It felt early like the momentum was going totally against them. They got a couple charge calls, some loose turnovers, and to go in at the end of the first at down 2 is a huge victory.
Remember, Londonderry started this game with an 8-0 run. Burke goes out of the game. Winnacunnet comes back and scores 8 to Londonderry's 2, rounding out the first quarter at 10-8. So remember, Valcic with the 2 fouls playing in that quarter. In the first minute and 17 seconds gets 2, able to make it through the rest of the quarter without any. And as you mentioned, Cadigan hitting the long jumper, getting her hands on the defensive end. I like that coach kind of gave her a little bit of a break sooner here in the first quarter. Last game she played the majority of the first half except the last minute, and that she just seemed tired at the end there, and it affected Londonderry when Winnacunnet when both she and Nomeyer had to come out at the same time.
There's no doubt. Last game, Cadigan, when they were coming out full court press against Pinkerton, was cramping up towards the end of the second half when Pinkerton ended up going on a pretty big run to stretch that out to 10 points. So getting her an early breather and keeping everybody rested for a strong second quarter is going to be huge tonight.
So Londonderry starting the second here with Conroy, Luckert, Noelle Lambert, Kelsey Coffey, and Kate Balcom. Winnacunnet going back to its starting 5. They extend out in this 1-3-1, so it transitions to more like a 2-1-2. It's a shot and rebound by Luckert. Kicks it to Coffey for the 3, unable to make it. Nice hustle by multiple Londonderry players for the offensive board.
Lockhart really controlling this game early.
There's Conroy.
Big 3.
She hits the deep 3.
Those will be the breakdown points against the Winnacunnet zone, is the corners, and Valcic with a sloppy pass there.
You have to remember this is a college-sized court, so these longer passes that you are typically able to throw, you just can't do in these games. That's a nice step through by Coffey. You often see that called as a travel in girls basketball, even though I sort of disagree with it, but I'm glad they let that go. Unfortunately, not converting into basket.
2 steps. It doesn't look like a normal basketball move, but it is.
Winnacunnet overloading this left side, kind of throwing passes that they anticipate are going to be open rather than actually being open.
A big thing for Valicic is not trying to throw the home run pass early in possessions. She's a great passer, has great vision, but she can't try to force it.
One of the things I like about Valicic is when you see her dribble the ball up the floor, she typically has her head up and sees the floor well. She has good size for a point guard, and usually any sort of zone, she can just pick right through it. But sometimes her decision-making so far in this game, probably because of just the fact that it's a hyped-up game, has been a little affected. That's a great job on the defensive end, though, and a great take. Her drives to the basket today have been fantastic. That is one quick step through in basket. She's come to play.
There's no doubt. Katie's got a college body. She's got a college game. And that was a college move right there.
I noticed Winnacunnet really focusing on getting back on the weak side in this transition. That's Conroy for another 3. She misses that one. Cadigan boxing out, but ball loose on the floor. That's going to be Winnacunnet basketball. Great hustle play. Girls exerting a lot of energy. So Conroy is going to go to the bench. We're going to have number 5, Rebecca Carroll, in the game for Londonderry. Valicic bringing the ball up, finds Arsenal, back to Valicic, finds a shooter. That's a good look for Britton. She hits a lot of those, misses that one, and that's a good rebound for Luckert.
Making shots is just a huge part of this game. Londonderry's hit a couple threes from the wing. Most of Winnacunnet's baskets are coming from the rim. Obviously, you want to try to get to the rim, but when you can make shots against the zone, it's going to soften it up.
That's a second foul against Arsenal. She's defending Luckert very well, but Luckert's kind of pushing her shoulder into her, and the foul's going against Arsenal. Finds Lambert on the top. Cadigan, those long arms, getting in the passing lane. Luckert dribbling through. Nice pass on the seal, but to Burke.
Got it.
Makes the layup. That's a good job by Burke on the low post, sealing the defensive player. You don't see a lot of post players learn that, but that was a good job by Burke. So easy sometimes against the zone just to find the post. There's Britton. That's in. As we mentioned before, Britton, a very good three-point shooter, and proving our point by hitting that 3. Winnacunnet down by 2. Ball loose on the ground. Arsenal picking it up. That's a back tip by Cadigan, getting her hands again. She's going to try again, in and out, but Nollmeyer hustles down. You can see that Winnacunnet really plays hard all the time and is feeding off of this emotional turn.
One of these things is each team has tried to dribble through the zone press multiple times, and it's resulted in turnovers. When they've passed the ball through, successful layups have been usually on the other end.
We've got Nollmeyer calling for the ball in the block, not getting it. I think what she doesn't see is that there is backside help there. Going to the ball hard. 2 Londonderry players boxing her out, but yet Winnacunnet's still able to come up with the basketball.
If Winnacunnet can get the ball to the baseline to Cadigan, then they can go to the low to the high setup versus the high to the low. And it looks like Nollmeyer would have that seal opportunity if the ball can get low to Cadigan first, and then you have Nollmeyer in the dive from the foul line area.
I agree with you on that. I think if they go short corner, then you can have the dive play, and then we won't need any dribbling in the low block. For Winnacunnet, we have number 30, Cassie McGorry. So Coach Turcotte giving Nollmeyer an earlier sub than usual. I like that. She can leave one of Nollmeyer or Cadigan on the floor at all times. There's the interior, exterior movement that we want to see. That's going to be a tough over-the-back call against Cadigan. She can jump through the roof, and I think the referee is just anticipating that she put her hand on the back there. So with 4 minutes to go in the second period, we have Londonderry up by 2. Winnacunnet with 7 fouls, so they're going to go. So Londonderry is going to shoot the 1-and-1.
Something that we always talk about on the AAU side of things is good fouls. A lot of these fouls for Winnacunnet have been occurring 90 feet from the basket or in over-the-back situations or loose ball fouls that are putting Londonderry to the line a lot earlier than Winnacunnet would want them to be there.
I agree, and as we mentioned, both of these teams pretty good from the free throw line. This is Tara Burke. She's going to make the first.
Burke is really the X factor, I think, for Londonderry tonight. Obviously, with Berube out, she's their one true big right now.
I've seen her have explosive games, and I've seen her play other games where she just doesn't seem to use her size to her advantage. Got Valcic bringing the ball up. Does a good job of keeping her head up again in that double team, but doesn't really have anybody to pass to. Therefore, having to dribble through the press. Londonderry getting a lot of hold calls in these double teams.
I think a two-guard front for Winnacunnet would really handle this press fine. Then you look to go to your sidelines first and then the middles. They want to throw you, they want you to throw cross-court passes. The more short, quick passes that you can throw against this pressure, the better success you will have against it.
I agree with you. I teach my kids a lot in the double team that you need a player to pass to that's behind the double team on the opposite side.
It's very much like the game of soccer. You can pass backwards in basketball. Not enough kids really do it. Everything's always downhill and forward.
There's that Winnacunnet cross screen play that I love. That's a late call by Kevin Chapman over there, calling a third charge call against Winnacunnet. That's going to be on Cadigan. That's going to be her second. And we're going to have, that's going to be her third, and we're going to have Nullmeyer back in the game.
Tough situation for Cadigan. Her aggressiveness in the latter half of the season is a big reason that Winnacunnet's had a lot of success. Her being aggressive tonight has cost her with 2 charges.
I do like to see Cadigan looking for more offense. I think it's helped Winnacunnet in these last couple days.
Right.
Games. That's Luckert hitting a 3, and this extends this to a 7-point lead. Very low-scoring game, only 20-13, as to be expected by 2 teams that feed off of defense as a turnover. Londonderry getting the basketball, and Luckert slowing it down. This is Wells on the drive. She's blocked. There's Conroy, and hits another jump shot from the corner, this time at 2.
As we talked about in the pregame, just making shots is a huge part of winning these games. Londonderry's making shots from the perimeter, and it's really going to start to open up things for them on the inside against Winnacunnet's 1-3-1.
Valcic finds the shooter. Britton, quick release. That's long. Rebound Luckert. And we have Londonderry timeout.
Looked like Londonderry was going to be on a 3-on-2 or maybe even 3-on-1 break there. But without as deep of a bench, maybe the timeouts are going to be a smart thing just to keep his team fresh.
So far in the second quarter, Londonderry outscoring Winnacunnet 12-6, 12-5.
Londonderry's just making shots right now. I mean, against the 1-3-1 zone, you're going to have some soft spots in the corners. If you can hit skip passes, you're going to have available shots. You can get quick ball reversals, you're going to get good shots. And Conroy is making Winnacunnet pay a little bit right now.
And I think if I'm Coach Turcotte, I mean, I'm teaching my kids when I'm playing this 1-3-1 that allowing that shot is okay. You want to contest it, and you want to make sure you box out of it and only allow 1. But kudos to Londonderry for being able to convert a fairly high percentage of their first shot opportunities.
One thing that I've been really impressed with this Winnacunnet run is just their positivity as a team. I think that early in the year they probably were the team that had the fewest high fives, pats on the back, and against Pinkerton, and even tonight, they're very positive and they're staying the course. They know that they can come back because they've done it so many times.
And they're really a team that I think refuses to lose, hence the underdog nickname that I think they're getting by being the 9 seed. They're not really an underdog.
Right.
As we know, most of Division I basketball this year, pretty evenly matched. No team going undefeated. Every team with a minimum of 2 losses shows that the field's kind of even. We got a couple of substitutions here for both teams.
Nice weak side cut by Lambert.
Lambert on the drive. That is a nice out-of-bounds play. Might have to steal that one when I review the film. I did steal a sideline play from Londonderry. That's Luckert out of bounds.
Really what it looked like there was just Lambert caught the Winnacunnet zone just staring at the ball, and she just made a really sharp weak side cut for the layup.
I might have to become a Londonderry soccer fan just so I can watch Jacqueline Luckert in goal.
Incredible athlete, great anticipation, always sees the ball and anticipates where it's going.
There's Valjic and Nolmeyer. That's a good look. That's something you would like to see her be able to convert. She makes a nice hard move on the baseline. She's a great free throw shooter, but if she could get herself to finish that layup and get fouled, could make her life a bit easier. That's Londonderry's 7th foul, so now both teams in the bonus. Always an advantage for Winnacunnet when they can get in the bonus early, as they shoot well over 80% from the stripe. We have a substitution, Arsenal going to the bench. Remember, Arsenal has a couple of fouls, and we have Emily Britton subbing in. Nolmeyer shooting her 2nd free throw, and makes that.
Mega's an incredibly good foul shooter, as you pointed to, and against Pinkerton, that was a huge factor as Winnacunnet made all their foul shots down the stretch.
I love post players that can also shoot free throws. It's amazing how many can't, but we've seen that both Burke and Nolmeyer so far doing pretty well from the stripe. You got to imagine that those players are getting fouled the most. That's an excellent block by Valcic. That's going to be a foul on Nolmeyer. That'll be her first, because post players get fouled often. And it amazes me how many post players actually can't shoot free throws very well. And they probably shoot the most of them.
A big factor right on that play was that you got Valcic with 2 fouls. She was responsible for Burke on the baseline. And when Luckert drove, Burke made a good backdoor cut on Valcic, and Valcic has to avoid the foul, which allowed Burke to get open inside. And
although she did initially block the shot, in order to do so, she had to put her body behind.
Well, Nolmeyer got called for the foul. Burke got to the rim because Valcic had to get out of the way, kind of, with her foul trouble situation.
Exactly, and kind of putting her out of defensive rebounding position. This is Britton on the sideline. There's Maggie Ori. Excuse me, that is Sarah Dyer. A lot of lefty shooters here on both teams. This is Luckert bringing the ball up.
Luckhart's doing a hell of a job early here. She's really playing the game well on both sides of the floor. She's running her team. She's setting her team up. She's making plays. We talk about that all the time. Players make plays. If anybody can get into the paint on either of these defenses with penetration, it's really going to break them down. Luckhart's doing a heck of a job, as you're seeing right here. Tough pass, but.
Look at her diving on the floor,
yep,
getting her hands on everything. That's jump balls going to the Londonderry.
I really believe Luckhart's maybe the most underrated player in the state. I mean, every game that I've seen her play this year, she's had a huge factor. She's been a huge factor on both sides of the floor. She just makes things happen. And she's not really known, you know, as one of the elite point guards in the state, but I really think she is.
I have to agree with you. I can't imagine. That's Noelle Lambert again off the same out of bounds play. I can't imagine that a Londonderry practice is easy, but I also know that when players hold each other accountable, it makes practice a lot better for a coach. And I imagine that Luckert does that. That's an off the backboard 3 for Britton. That Luckert just makes her team work hard by just through her leadership on the floor, probably vocally as well. Luckert finding Wells.
Dangerous passes here.
Long passes against the zone. Really trying to space it out by pulling the ball out.
I'm all for the skip pass against a 1-3-1, but I prefer it to be more diagonal than laterally across the side of the floor.
I agree with you. That's Burke, misses, but there's Luckert again getting her hands on it, which allows Balcom to get the rebound. I think she anticipated that there was less time on the clock than there actually was, as the Winnacunnet fans chanting a little early on the downside. So we were a little off in our prediction, but going into the locker room, we have Londonderry 27, Winnacunnet 18. That's a 9-point Londonderry lead.
And crazy as it is, I think Winnacunnet might be comfortable in this spot. They've been in this situation numerous times over the last 5 games, including the semifinal game on Monday night against Pinkerton, where they trailed 30-20 at the half. Winnacunnet's going to the half, and they don't have the momentum, but they know that they can climb out of this hole if they come out and play a strong second half.
I think as we anticipated, the transition offensive opportunities for both teams, leading to the majority of their baskets and a couple of nice outside shots by Londonderry. Remember, one of Londonderry's best outside shooters, Brittany Roach, sat the majority of the second quarter in foul trouble. Look for her to be an impact player in the second half. We're going to take a short break here, and we'll be back for the second half of our Division I girls final game.
Katie's uncle.
All right, so looking into the second half here, Winnacunnet down by 9. If you're Coach Turcotte, what are you telling your players in the locker room?
I'm telling them to be a little bit more patient against the press. You don't have to hit home runs. Let's just hit doubles and let's hit singles. Let's hit the easier pass, break it down with the short, quick passes, and you'll probably get layups against the pressure.
If you're Londonderry, do you think it's easier or harder to come into the second half up by 9?
I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, you're in a state championship game. You're thinking, hey, we're 16 minutes away from winning it all, and at the same time, you also got to stay focused on the situation at hand.
Let's comment on how fantastic this atmosphere is. Packed house, no open seats, players excited, parents excited, and I'm seeing a lot of people that are not associated necessarily with either school here, but associated with New Hampshire basketball. It's great for girls basketball. I love these events. I love seeing all these people come out for this game.
Well, and as you know, Courtney, a big part of building a program at the high school level is getting the young kids out here, and I'm seeing tons of young kids in the stands that are dreaming of their opportunity to play in a game like this someday.
Absolutely. So as we get ready for our second half here, it's going to be Winnacunnet basketball. Remember, we're switching directions. You're always shooting towards your bench in the second half. And we're going to go with the traditional Winnacunnet starters and the same starters for Londonderry as well. Roach back in the game after sitting the majority of the second quarter. If Winnacunnet come out of the gates and score here, make their lives easier, feeding it to Cadigan.
Great move.
Great first step. Makes the first one.
That was their go-to play against Pinkerton, the high-low set. They screen across for each other. One goes high, one dives low, and they look to go over the top, high-low.
It's really impossible to defend because if you pick up Nomeyer, then you're going to leave Cadigan open. If you pick up Cadigan, you're going to leave Nomeyer open. And I don't think I want to leave either one of them open within
Correct.
3 feet of the basket.
Well, and that's traditionally been Winnacunnet's go-to offense over the years, is the two solid high posts, and one of them dives low, and it's been great for them for many, many years.
I like that. I feared playing Winnacunnet man just because I knew how much those interior back screens could really dominate a basketball game. A key stat from the first half, Winnacunnet only going to the free throw line twice and making both. But traditionally a team, as we've mentioned, that scores a lot of points from the free throw line, to only be able to score 2 might tell us why they only scored 18 and a half. We got Roach defending Cadigan relatively well, not allowing that cross screen.
Ooh.
And Valsic is going to airball. We got a rebound by Coffey.
Valsic drove baseline, didn't realize that she was as open as she was, and just kind of panicked and shot it.
Winnacunnet sticking with their zone. Coffey, long 3. She hits it. Has a little too much room on the side given by Cadigan, knowing that Coffey's a shooter from well outside the 3-point line.
It's back to that making shots factor that we discussed earlier in the game. Londonderry's just making shots right now.
That's a steal by Coffey. So after hitting a 3, she comes back and gets a steal. It's going to be Londonderry basketball.
The other big stat that's jumping out to me is the turnovers. We had 14 for Winnacunnet and only 8 for Londonderry, as well as the shot. Winnacunnet shot 7 for 20, Londonderry 9 for 21. The 3-pointers, Londonderry was 3 for 7, Winnacunnet 2 for 6.
And 6 turnover difference might not seem like a big one, but you got to remember, that's really 12 potential points that you could have scored and 12 potential points you could have given up. So that's really a 24-point swing and just 6 turnover differential. Winnacunnet looking long, but then they're going to pull the ball out.
3-on-1 there, and they pull it out. You got to look to attack in those situations.
Londonderry sticking with their man-to-man. Valcic hooking around. Britton getting screened by Nomeyer. Coffey tries to push through. That no call, and then a long shot by Britton. That's no good. So 30-10, the same score that Winnacunnet had against Pinkerton. It was just at the halftime this time. And Lucker's going to step out of bounds, going to go back to Winnacunnet.
Really, that's how we teach kids to get through screens as well. I mean, run right through them, and if it's a call, then you adjust. But otherwise, we don't want the offensive player that's setting screens to have much of a factor against us.
This is where having two girls that are able to bring the ball up the floor plays into the strength of Winnacunnet, as Valcic double teams taking the ball out, and Winnacunnet able to have Arsenal bring it up. That's a wild shot by Valcic.
Close to a fourth foul there on Cadigan. That would have been catastrophic for the Warriors.
Winnacunnet does pressure the rebound relatively well, but still not able to get any turnovers in that full court pressure.
Winnacunnet did win the rebounding edge 14-11 in the first half. Really getting into the three factors that I felt would decide this game: rebounding, turnovers, and making shots. Winnacunnet is holding their own in most of the areas. I mean, I think turnovers are going to be a huge factor this half.
Looks like we're going to have a Londonderry timeout. I think Coach Theo's not happy with that play, so wants to draw it again. I mean, there are 5, you do get 5 timeouts. He's up by 10. You can't take your timeouts home. So, I mean, the likelihood that he's going to use 3 timeouts in the fourth quarter, low. So I don't mind that, just to try to get a bucket.
Something that I've been incredibly impressed with Londonderry this year is just their ability to win games many different ways. They can win it man-to-man, they can win it zone, they can win up-tempo, they can win a slower game. They're just a very formidable foe in any style of game that they play.
And something that Londonderry has is athletes. A lot of teams have athletes, but these Londonderry athletes use that to their advantage. And what I mean is when they're full court pressing, they're able to get in the lanes, really pressure the ball to get turnovers, and then they play team basketball. That's an offensive rebound by Burke. Doesn't make it. Coffey gets an offensive rebound, and then they're going to call an offensive foul call while she ducked her shoulder to kind of create some space.
Something that's very hard to do out of a zone, especially a 1-3-1, is rebound the basketball. Right now, this half early on, Londonderry's really getting to the boards on the offensive end.
Again, we see the full court pressure. Back to Valcic. Pass to Cadigan. I love the give and go.
Wow.
Looks like there's a lot of contact, but a no call, and that's going to be a call against Nollmeyer. She might have taken the brunt end of that, but that's going to be Londonderry basketball.
Almost looked like Nollmeyer might have taken a knee to the head there. Kind of a very dangerous play. Nollmeyer is one of the toughest kids there is, so you won't even notice that she is banged up if she is.
I've noticed in a lot of games too, she's really an emotional leader on this Winnacunnet side. She's constantly playing hard, and she's led a lot of these comebacks. That's a long pass by Balcom. She's thrown a few of these in this game as they're trying to transition the basket. Lockhart telling her team to just calm down and transition, rather not turn the ball over, trying to create. Valcic trying to get the ball in, really has no one to pass to, and Lockhart comes up with the basketball.
That's going to be Valcic's 5th turnover of the game.
Can't blame her too much. Give credit to the Londonderry defense, as they really were getting in the passing lanes and that pressure. That's an advantage they have when they score a bucket. They're getting up in these lanes quickly and denying the ball in to anybody on Winnacunnet.
There's no doubt when you're playing against Londonderry, one of those factors is going to be that they're going to be up in the pass lanes.
There's another steal by Jacqueline Lockhart. She pulls up, she misses. There's a rebound by Nollmeyer. She got hit a few times on that rebound, but just getting the ball casually to her point guard and headed back down the floor. This is Valcic.
Winnacunnet looks tired to me out there right now.
I agree. Not sure if the tempo of the beginning of this half has been rough for them. Only scoring 1 basket.
I think a lot of it's just the physicality. I mean, right now Londonderry's getting to the boards hard. They're physical, they're taking away cuts, they're taking away drives. You know, there's a lot of bumps in all areas of the court right now.
That's a pass to Balcom, who misses. Thought I saw a little bit of a travel there, but a no call. But another offensive rebound. But Nollmeyer, look at her dribbling the ball up the floor. And we've got Coffey and Roach both reaching in, and it's going to be a foul, I believe, against Coffey, and it's going to be Winnacunnet basketball on the baseline.
Nollmeyer does play post for Winnacunnet. She isn't much of a ball handler, but she is an incredibly good athlete.
And you see that with a lot of these girls. That's going to be a timeout, 30-second timeout by Winnacunnet.
There's no doubt with Winnacunnet, there's a lot of very versatile kids on their team. Like Cadigan and Nolmeyer might play the post for them, but they are incredibly good athletes, and I know that they might be the 2 fastest players in the Winnacunnet roster.
With Londonderry, they also have a bunch of athletic kids. I don't think they get enough credit, I think, because they win so many basketball games. People think that it's a lot of, strong basketball players, which it is, but it's also a lot of kids who work hard. They constantly work hard throughout this game. They're in the passing lanes. They're digging in on defense. They're diving for loose basketballs. And those are things that sometimes the elite teams don't do. But Londonderry really doing that. We've got Nolmeyer trying to pin the inside of the 2-3. They find Britton, but she's not going to launch a shot up. Nolmeyer driving in baseline, kicks it to the shooter. That's a good job by Nolmeyer. That's a decent look, gets an offensive board, gets hit. I didn't think they were going to make that call, but that's going to go against Tara Burke.
Nolmeyer is one of the most slippery offensive rebounders there is out there. I mean, every time their shot goes up, she really sidesteps the box out, and she slides through real quick and gets tons of offensive rebounds because of that.
She also gets her hands up. I'm not sure if she knows where they are, but she really has her hands up, so if the ball happens to land in it, it usually results in good things. And this is where, again, her being a strong free throw shooter, a huge factor. That's going to be Cadigan hustling, and a great play to knock it off of the Lancer, who she felt on her back. Another athletic play on this floor. Nolmeyer trying to pin in Burke. Britton finds Valsic. You haven't seen Valsic shoot so much from the outside.
Valsic is a very capable shooter, but it's not really what she's comfortable doing. Usually, I would say 90% of the time that she has an open look, she's still going to shot fake it.
And I don't mind them pounding the ball into Nolmeyer, but I also think if you can work the inside-outside game, we keep saying how good Nolmeyer is at offensive rebounding. Sometimes a shot will provide that opportunity, and then an easier bucket will come out of it. Looks like Cadigan got held on the screen.
Just run over, really. I mean, it looks like Londonderry's got that mindset right now. Every screen that Winnacunnet sets, they're going to run right through it.
This is number 22, Shannon Sonia. Londonderry really using a lot of players off the bench.
Yep, they had 9 in the first half, and now Sonia makes it 10. So playing 10 players in a state final is a real testament to their depth. The slower this game's played right now, the more advantageous it is for Londonderry.
There's Nolmeyer from an 8-footer, but Cadigan another offensive board. Trying to find a way to the rim, but she just can't get one. But makes a nice kick out. There's Valsic.
Valsic has got to look to shoot the ball. She's basically unguarded right now.
You see them overplaying Molly Britton, but then Emily Britton stepping up for 3. And that makes it a 6-point ball game. There's where that outside shooting really coming into play. This is a key possession for Londonderry, but Britton really getting the passing lane here. Noelle Lambert from the baseline. She's long, no rebound, but then we have Nolmeyer. Looks like we're going to have a foul call, potentially against Nolmeyer on the reach.
It's her 3rd foul.
I thought that was more of a hustle play. I don't like that to be called a foul. I think she was going for the basketball. They were both diving,
and
competing well.
Neither had possession.
Nice tip by Cadigan. Gosh, she gets her hands in the passing lane. Maybe she should play soccer goalie too. For Winnacunnet, we have a substitution. This is number 33, Sarah Dyer. Remember, Dyer hitting a jump shot in the first half. Back to Luckert. Roach. Remember, Roach's height, able to throw those long passes. She's playing on the inside right now, but she's more of an outside shooter. We're going to have Kelsey Coffey check back in for Londonderry. She's going to replace number 22, Shannon Sonia. They're looking for Coffey for the shot. Valsic reads that and steps out nicely, feeding it back into Brittany Roach. That's a good play by Roach on the post.
It's something that I wish that Roach did a little bit more. I mean, she's a very versatile player, but she has great size for her position, and she usually has a lot of mismatches down there.
And she's almost close to 6 feet. Nice ball movement by Winnacunnet. That's a forced pass, but then Dyer getting the ball back. And Valsic finding Britton, who again has 2 3-pointers in this basketball game. Her sister Molly making up for a 3rd 3-pointer. Valsic throwing the pass too quickly.
Valsic got to take some deep breaths. Slow down, process the game.
I think sometimes she just anticipates where the player should be. I mean, a true point guard knows where the player should be, but then she's throwing passes to the air. This is Coffey trying to make a tricky pass into Lambert, but Cadigan gets her hand in the passing lane.
Coach Theo's telling Kelsey he doesn't want those kind of passes, and rightfully so. When you got an 8-point lead, you don't need to hit home runs. Just good, solid basketball. If they can just close it out, they're going to be state champs.
Nice cut by Lambert on that. Here's Luckert driving. Remember, Roach is wide open, but Luckert does a good job of really penetrating to create that space that's needed, and then getting an offensive rebound and unselfishly passing it up. There's Coffey for 3. She hits that. That's going to make it an 11-point lead for Londonderry.
Coffey is one of the streakiest shooters that I know. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if she ran off 5 more the rest of this half. And she's open, and she's feeling it. She's as good as anybody.
There's Valsic. That's a block call against Lambert. These Londonderry players go to the ground taking a lot of contact and just seem to bounce right up.
It's getting back to that practice concept that you talked about earlier, just with the level of competition in their practices. I mean, it's making everybody have to always play hard. It's now their identity.
30 seconds left in this half. Excuse me, in this quarter. Cadigan driving, finds Britton. Similar play we just saw on the other end, but Britton unable to make it, and it's going to go back to Londonderry for potentially the last shot of this half with 15 seconds left.
Looks like Londonderry's holding for the last shot, as they should.
Finds Roach. Remember, she's also a good shooter. That's short, but Luckert getting another offensive board. I think Roach, anticipating that the ball was going to her, tipping a pass that was actually going to Conroy on the top. So going into the 4th quarter, we have Londonderry 35, Winnacunnet 24. It's an 11-point lead, biggest lead of the game for Londonderry, taking over their 8-0 start to the game. If I'm Winnacunnet, I think I need to extend my pressure back out, but potentially switch it up to when they get up on the inbounder and try to deny the ball in and then trap immediately, trying to see if they can get a couple of quick baskets early. And then if they do, kind of pulling it off and seeing if they can slow down the game for the remainder of the game.
I think the first 2 minutes or 3 minutes of this quarter are really going to decide it. Like you said, if Winnacunnet can get up, cause some turnovers, and get right back in this thing fast, put the heat back on Londonderry. That's what they did against Pinkerton. A couple of quick turnovers to start the half really changed the game fast. I mean, to start the quarters, changed the game fast against Pinkerton, and Winnacunnet seized that momentum and carried it through to pull the upset.
Both teams defensively doing a decent job. Londonderry only allowing 24 Winnacunnet points. 24 Winnacunnet points. That is a great defensive effort by Londonderry.
A lot of credit goes to Coach Theos on that. Switching it up to man-to-man, I think, has caught Winnacunnet off guard a little bit. As we talked about in the pregame, they're traditionally a 3-2 zone team, and they haven't played a lot of man-to-man this year, and I think Winnacunnet was probably a little bit surprised by that.
There's Coffey. Remember, we don't want to leave her open. Got to get nice and tight on her. Luckert on the top. Winnacunnet extending the pressure out a little bit more. They are active in the zone, and that's a steal by Valsic.
Londonderry, again, just does not need to throw those kind of passes.
I think that's Cadigan getting out on that ball and pressuring it.
Similar situation to the Pinkerton game for Winnacunnet. If Londonderry just wants to pull the ball back against the 1-3-1, they could probably run off huge chunks of time right now.
There's a steal while forcing it in. That's been a problem for Winnacunnet tonight. Probably 3 or 4 turnovers just on getting the ball into the post. That's a 3 by Conroy. She's hit 2 threes in this ball game and a long 2 to make up 8 points.
Look at your sidelines. Hit ahead.
There's Britton. She's also a good 3-point shooter. She's going to be long on that. Cadigan on the weak side trying to get the rebound. Gets her hands on it, but unable to come up with the basketball.
Londonderry's just winning all loose balls, offensive rebounds, defensive rebounds, coming up with all the 50-50s right now.
With my team, we talk about keys to winning, and one of them is always 50-50 balls. Did we win more 50-50 balls than the other team? That's going to be a travel call against Coffey. Looks like she might have taken a step before dribbling the basketball.
Just a little excited.
But gets right back in on the defensive end. One of the things this Londonderry zone pressure, or when they kind of go this run and jump, they really force the ball handler to one side. It doesn't matter what side, it's whatever side the ball handler is already. And they're not allowing them to reverse the basketball. And I think against any run and jump, that's really the key to getting those steals. When you force someone to the side, they're going to throw a long pass, and then when you have Luckert behind you who can just skip in these passing lanes, it leads to easy.
It's been a big change in the world of basketball in the last few years, is that more teams are forcing sideline baseline than ever before, whereas in the past everything was always force middle to help. But now if you use your sidelines and baselines as a second, third defender, you can really close off half the floor and force those cross-court passes.
Especially when we're playing on that bigger court.
Right.
Having the extra defenders, AKA the sideline, baseline, really can help you. That's Nollmeyer hitting another free throw. She's hit all but one tonight. I think 7 of 8 from the line. There's Cadigan getting in the lane. That's that long pass we don't want any team to throw, and Winnacunnet able to pick that off. There's Britton. If she could hit this, and
wow.
She does. That was deep as well. That's a quick swing around. That's 5-point swing by Winnacunnet, and now they're up by 9 with 6 minutes to go here in the 4th quarter. Remember, not too long ago, Londonderry having an 11-point lead, and now it's just a 9-point lead off of a quick 3 and 2 free throws by Winnacunnet.
This is how Winnacunnet came back against Pinkerton. They had a couple quick 7-0 runs that happened in about 20 to 30 seconds. And if they can pull that off right here, and you know the heat gets back on Londonderry, because it felt like all they had to do was just sail to the finish line, and now they can tighten up. It's always a huge factor in these kind of games. It's just the pressure that the kids will start to feel the closer they get to the finish line.
I think sometimes as a coach I might pull off my pressure just for one possession. Make them try to score in the half court. Londonderry does like to run. Although you've had some turnovers by anticipating passes, I think I might pull it off, make them get a shot in the half court, and then get a rebound.
Well, and as we've discussed earlier in this game, Winnacunnet really gets a lot of their offense from their defense. So if you can force them to make a basket first before they can set their press, you definitely have a good point.
And I like what Coach Turcotte did. She decided to kind of extend the top player up, but put everybody else back, which doesn't allow for an easy transition basket, but still potentially causes a turnover.
Yep.
I like that call.
Luckard is really just playing a heck of a game.
She steps up there, and
you trap her, she gets out of it, she creates a 4-on-3 on the other side numerous times this game.
And let's not forget how many steals she's had. If you look at the stat sheet, just in the first half, 3 steals, but I've seen a few more since then. We've got Brittany Roach down. Looks like she might have hit her hip or her elbow when she landed. It took the brunt of a Valsic drive. Remember, Valsic does drive to the basket hard. We've got players stepping in front. It's going to result in a few bruises. Roach, a tough kid. I see her at the sports zone all the time, shooting, practicing, working on her game. And she really has been kind of an unsung hero on the Londonderry team. Hitting a key 3 like I mentioned last year in the finals, hitting some other big shots as a sophomore in the final game against Bedford.
As an AAU coach, I can't say that I'm upset that she will be graduating and I'll never have to see her on the court again.
Absolutely.
She is a really well-rounded player, and she plays really, really hard. Hoping she's all right.
Looks like it might be on the left side.
Looks like maybe a left hip or maybe a kidney area. This gym really is packed. I mean, I don't see any seats available on this in the stands at all.
Something that's kind of interesting to me right now is these Londonderry players. Again, you have some upperclassmen on the floor taking the lead. They're kind of huddled together, whereas the Winnacunnet team sitting with their coach, which either way is fine, but I like how the Londonderry kids take the initiative, huddle together, and when you can coach yourselves, that really is a championship in the making.
That's every coach's goal, I believe, to have players that are self-sufficient by the end of the season. You don't even have to coach them as much because they already know situations and how to run themselves.
Absolutely. So we've got Winnacunnet going back to the pressure, as we were anticipating, kind of taking it off for one and then putting it back on. Love that. Pressuring the ball. We've got Arsenal back in the game. She's not played as many minutes tonight, being in foul trouble. So look for her little energy here to spark a Winnacunnet comeback. She does have the job of denying Luckard out on the top of this 1-3-1. Not an easy task. Coffey finding Luckard on the drive, who tries to pass to Burke, a little off on her pass. But you have to know, as a run and gun coach, that you're going to have turnovers. It's going to happen.
I think Coach Theos is just thinking, why do we even need to go forward? You know, if they can just go with a two-guard front against the 1-3-1 from Winnacunnet, you know, they could have Arsenal running back and forth and run a lot of time.
Nice pass by Arsenal to Nollmeyer.
9-point game.
As much as I'd like to believe that high school basketball players can find a happy balance between being a fast team and a half-court offense team, that's a nice pass by Luckard to Burke.
Great look. Your diagonals are always going to be open against the 1-3-1 for the most part. She did a great job seeing the floor there.
It's harder than you think to transition between being really fast and then slowing the ball down. It's just not easy for basketball players to do. Valjic drives. She throws up a nice shot, but Nollmeyer looked like she might get another offensive board, but unable to grab that one, and we're going to go back to Londonderry basketball. Winnacunnet really staying in this one, not allowing more than the 11-point lead.
Just throwing it back and forth up here between Lockhart, Coffey, and Lambert would be probably pretty lethal to Winnacunnet's chances. They can just hold it here for 3-4 seconds, skip it across, run a lot of time without even having any risk of a turnover.
Coach Theos asking his team to pull the ball out a little bit more and kind of delay. That looked like a bit of an illegal screen, but there's going to be no call.
Wow.
Burke able to get the layup and one off of a fantastic pass. That's a tough roll for Winnacunnet as they're trying to pressure the ball as they need to do, down by 11, now down by 13, but at the time down by 11. Trying to get in these passing lanes and force turnovers, they need to, but occasionally it can lead to easy layups. Well, I don't know if that was an easy layup, but layups, and that's what happened there. Looks like we're gonna have a timeout, full timeout by the Winnacunnet coach.
Lockhart has been my MVP by far right now. Really just controlling the game, breaking down the defense, not panicking against the traps, getting to the middle of the floor and just finding the open players all night long.
All right, so with 3:32 left to play, we have Londonderry 44, Winnacunnet 31. Statistically, I've heard that the first team to 48, 75% of the time wins the basketball game.
What is your source on that?
I don't know.
I think that's a pretty reasonable number.
I kind of made up the 75% part, but I know that 48 is the key in women's basketball.
Yep.
I believe that might have been when I was the understudy to some coaches in my early coaching days. You know, you got to take, when you're a young coach, you got to put yourself around good coaches and try to take 10% from each of them and add your own stuff. Then it makes an okay coach.
No doubt.
Always learning, though. This is Burke. She misses, but tries to get an offensive board, throws it out of bounds.
Burke staying out of foul trouble this game's been huge. She's got 11 points, several strong rebounds, just making the layups that she's been given, finishing plays.
As we mentioned, Londonderry playing a lot of players, but also have a lot of players scoring. That makes it tough to defend. Britton on the travel. Looked like when she was squaring up, she rotated her pivot foot.
Look at this pass.
That's Luckert.
I think if Luckert decides to leave soccer, I think maybe Londonderry quarterback competition might get a little tighter as well. She's made several long passes like that against the full court press. They've been all right on target.
And then on defense, she can just switch over and play safety and pick off all these long passes against teams.
Winnacunnet looking like they're getting down on themselves. A couple shaky turnovers there on drop passes and travel calls.
I'm really becoming more and more of a Luckert fan the more I see her. The world of the multi-sport athlete seems to be dissipating, but Luckert proving us wrong. And I love that she can be on both this, and I don't know if this is her primary or secondary sport, but dominate.
She's great at both.
And just dominate.
Yep. And it's kind of impressive just because neither of those sports, the positions that she plays, are very similar. I mean, goalie, it's all reactions and whatnot, but she's a point guard that really sees the floor and reads the game incredibly well.
Although sometimes as a goalie, you do want to command your team.
True.
Good goalies command their team. Good point guards command their team.
Oh, and Luckhart's leadership this game's been tremendous. She's communicating nonstop. She's got positive energy nonstop. Playing a great game. And as much as she is filling the stat sheet, a lot of what she does will not be showing up in the
Ball
stat.
tipped all over the place. Winnacunnet comes up with it. Valsic finding her shooter Britton. Doesn't put it up. Arsenal on the wing. Finds Valsic. Trying to find Cadigan. Kind of throws a lob pass. Winnacunnet rushing now in the half-court offense, and it's leading to a lot of turnovers. Coach Turcotte's going to take another timeout. Not scoring in the last 45 seconds.
Londonderry's really taking away all high-low opportunities. Everything has been jammed. Everything's been fronted hard with help over the top. And it's just really hard for Winnacunnet to even make a catch.
And they're forcing those passes to be made from the low corner, which it's hard to pass anywhere from the low corner, except maybe back out to the same side wing. So although Cadigan is kind of posting up nicely, the pass unable to get there, just the angle's bad.
A quick ball reversal would change that angle completely.
Absolutely.
Sounds like the Londonderry student section was just chanting, "It's all over." 13-point lead, 2:13 to go.
I think it's such an emotional battle at these types of events. You get hyped up for days. They haven't played since Monday. Probably worked hard in practice all week. Down by 13.
Another factor for Winnacunnet it was finals week, and following my Twitter feed, I did see numerous tweets around 3 a.m. referring to the fact that they had not gone to bed yet, and they had school in 2 hours, 3 hours.
Do they do trimesters over at Winnacunnet?
I am not sure on that. This was finals week, so I do believe that it is trimesters.
Winnacunnet looking like they're going to pressure more in the full court man-to-man. Potentially try to slow down this stall by Londonderry. We've got Cadigan guarding Coffey. Will prevent her probably from getting many shots off.
Coffey plays with a great pace. It's really hard to speed her up.
It's going to be a 5-second call. She's had a couple of hard calls against her today. An out of bounds, double dribble, a travel, an offensive charge, I think, or an offensive foul in the low block, and then that call for the 5 seconds.
Usually Coffey's dad is one of the loudest in the gym, but this headset's really taken him out of the game for me anyway.
I could see him though. That's going to be a hold on a tough cut. Got Cadigan on the line. She makes her first. And her second. I've only seen Winnacunnet miss one free throw, just not getting the line as much as they normally do. Burke bringing the ball up the floor. Don't know if that's what Londonderry needs at this moment. If they can get a quick 5-second call here and a quick basket, they can be right back in this basketball game. Not going to get the call as Londonderry has lots of ball handlers on the floor, and Kelsey Coffey able to create some space. It's a screen by Lambert. Double team on Coffey. Looks like Cadigan's kind of holding her left hip here, but she's an athlete. She'll play through this last minute and 28.
Nice
Coffey on the
hesitation
drive,
there.
finds Burke. They're going to still stall and bowl the ball out. At some point, Winnacunnet might have to start fouling here.
Lucker just doing a heck of a job.
She's so quick and she keeps the ball nice and low to the ground. It's hard to foul her.
What I really like is that she's used space dribbles, she's used the spin dribble to get out of tight situations. She's not always downhill.
Ball inbound to Burke. Looks like it's going to be a push on Nollmeyer. Pushing her from behind. That's going to be that's only Winnacunnet's 6th foul. The next they'll send Londonderry to the line for 1-1. We have an 11-point ball game.
Ooh.
With a minute and 11 left. That's going to be a tip.
Wow. That ball wasn't tipped.
That's going to be out of bounds. Looks like they're going to conference, and I think the ball is going to end up in the hands of Winnacunnet. It's going to be Winnacunnet basketball.
Yep, good call.
Have to applaud the referees that they're willing to make the right call rather than the first call if the first call is incorrect. Looks like Britain's going to bring the ball up. I'm looking for a potential double stack for Valsic to shoot. Cadigan screening. Valsic on the drive. Londonderry moving nicely with her. That's going to be an offensive foul against Cadigan. That'll be her 4th with 1 minute to go in the 4th. If Londonderry made these 2 free throws and then maybe made a couple more, they'd get to 48 first, and then it would prove my statistic correct.
I'd like to know what the percentage would be if they only get to 46 points. Does that drop from 80% down to like 78%?
I believe I said 75 initially.
Oh, okay.
So maybe 72.5 on that. Burke misses that one. Tara,
Nice
you played
rebound.
a good game, but I don't like that. Britton calling for the screen. Nope, calling for a secret Winnacunnet play, but what do you know? Luckert in the passing lane.
Yeah.
Throws it to Coffey. Coffey attacking. She's going to go in for the lay-in and makes it.
And that
46 points Londonderry.
That'll pretty much do it here.
Valsic not giving up. Gets the ball to Britton, the three-point shooter, who can't make it. It's going to be Winnacunnet basketball.
Hardest part of these games right here is just the build up to it, and then both teams coming in knowing how far they've come, and one of them just not being able to go home as a champion.
We've got Cadigan holding her ankle. We've got Roach on the bench holding her elbow. And we have Londonderry basketball.
Londonderry's just going to dribble it out. 20 seconds to play.
I have to say it's a good job by Coach Turcotte not fouling in this situation. No need to make it any different than it already is.
Lambert going for the extra 2.
She knew that I needed her to score 48 points. And that's going to be it. Londonderry 48, Winnacunnet 33, our Division I state champion, Londonderry High School.
What a great season for the Lancers. They really won games, like I said earlier, in many different ways. And I think they deserve it as much as anybody.
And remember, on this team, we still have Luckert returning next year, Coffey returning next year, and a lot of these other guards who played a key role on the defensive end for Londonderry.
Same with Winnacunnet. Winnacunnet's going to be returning a lot of their roster as well. So, I mean, we could see a repeat of this game next year.
Absolutely. So as we mentioned, rebounds, 50-50 balls, athletes showing up in this game, and it wasn't a disappointment. Londonderry 48, Winnacunnet 33. That's it from Southern New Hampshire University. This is Courtney Cheatham and Dustin Freenan signing off for Castle Hill Media.